Welcome back to another Beta Masters tutorial in Construct 3. In this lesson, we'll learn how to make a non-playable character move in our level. In this case, our goal is going to be to make our enemies walk back and forth without falling off the edge of the level. So, the first thing we're going to do is look at our monster object type. We've already learned that one convenient way to make an object move is by using the pre-built behavior called platform. So we will add the platform behavior to our monster. However, we don't want to physically control the monster using the arrow keys. So, in the Properties panel, we will uncheck the box in order to disable default controls. This will allow us to use code within our game to control our monster's movement. The other thing we need to control is which direction the monster is moving. To do this, we're going to use what's called an instance variable. A variable is a virtual container that holds data. We can use that data in order to control code within our game. An instance variable is a variable that is connected to every instance of an object that exists within a game. So, each of our monsters can have its own unique variable that we use to control them independently. We are going to add an instance variable named direction, and we will give it an initial value of -1 to represent that our monster is facing in the left direction, where x is negative. Alright, with that done, we're ready to go to the event sheet and begin coding. We always want to keep our events organized in order to make it easy for us to work with them. So, let's right-click and create a group called Enemy Movement. This is where we will keep all of the events that control our enemies within the level. Now, we'll add an event to our new group. We're going to select the monster, then go to the category for instance variables, and we are going to compare an instance variable. We're going to check that the direction instance variable is equal to -1. This means any of the actions attached to this event will only work if our monster is facing in the left direction, indicated by the direction variable equal to -1. We will now add an action. Again, we'll select monster, we'll find the platform category, and we're going to simulate a control. This allows us to simulate pressing a button on the keyboard without actually doing it. We'll choose pressing left. If we test our game, we'll now see that our monsters move to the left, but they're going way too fast, and they fall right off the edge. We're going to have to fix that. Slowing our monsters down is as simple as going over to the Properties panel and changing the value for maximum speed. I'm going to lower mine down to a value of 50. Now, we're ready to stop the monsters from running off the edge. To do so, we're going to learn about a new and useful condition that we haven't used before, and we're going to use that direction instance variable that we created to turn our monsters around. Back in the event sheet, we're going to need to create what's called a sub-event. Sub-events allow us to check another condition only if the first one has been met. So, a new sub-event will let us check when the monster is about to reach the edge. We'll right-click beneath our event and choose to add a sub-event. For our condition, we're going to check our monster, and then, from the collisions category, we'll select is overlapping at offset. What this condition does is it allows us to check if one object would be overlapping another object if the first object was repositioned by a set amount in the X and Y directions. Basically, it allows us to see into the future of the movement of an object. So, we're going to check if the monster is moving to the left, would it overlap the tile map, which our level is built out of, if it was one body width, which is 32 pixels, to the left, so our offset X will be -32, and if it was moved down by 1 pixel from its current height, so an offset Y of 1. Remember, y is negative in an upward direction and positive in a downward direction, even though that may not make sense to us. This event is now able to recognize whether or not there would still be tile map beneath our monster if it continued moving to the left. But what we want to know is when there's no longer tile map beneath it. So we will right-click on the event and select Invert to check that there is no longer going to be a tile map beneath the monster. We'll then be able to use this condition to stop our monster from moving any further to the left. Next, we're going to add an action to the sub-event. Again, we'll select the monster, and this time we're going to check its instance variable and set the value. We're going to change the direction to +1. Now, if we test our game, we'll see that when the monster reaches the edge, the main condition, checking if direction is equal to -1, is no longer met as soon as our action takes place and changes direction to +1. So, our entire event stops, which means the monster is no longer moving to the left. Alright, back in our event sheet, we need to recreate a nearly identical event to move the monster to the right. What we can do is right-click all the way to the left of our main event and copy it. Then, we'll right-click in an open area to paste the event, and, if necessary, we'll move our new event into the enemy movement group. Now we just need to edit it to make a few changes. In the main event, we're going to edit our condition to check if the direction is a +1. Then, we'll edit our action to simulate pressing right instead of left. Next, we'll edit the sub-event. First, we're going to check for an overlap to the right instead of to the left, so we'll change our offset x to a +32 instead. Our offset y will stay the same, since we still want to check below our monster. Then, we'll change the action on our sub-event to set our direction instance variable back to -1. If we test our game, we'll now see that our monsters move back and forth as intended on the platforms without falling off the edge. The last thing we need to do is fix the direction that they're facing. Returning to our event sheet once more, we can think back to a previous lesson where we learned how to change the direction that our player was facing using the mirrored and not mirrored actions. We're going to add a new action to each main event in the enemy movement group. In the graphics for our monster, he's facing to the left, so in the event that controls movement to the left, we're going to select Monster, and then from the Appearance category, we'll go to Set Mirrored and select Not Mirrored as our setting. Then we'll repeat this process for the event that controls movement to the right, selecting Monster, from the Appearance section, Set Mirrored to Mirrored. Testing our game one last time, we'll find that the code we've completed makes our monster move and turn around the way that we want it to. Keep in mind, you could also use other conditions to control non-playable character movement, such as checking to see if an object's X or Y position is above or below a particular value. Have fun using this concept to breathe some life into your games in Construct 3.